All right. Enough said about club football. It's time to talk international football. And the reason why it's so was so particular about this is because it's the World Cup at stake. The Super Eagles failed to qualify for the World Cup through the group phase. I mean, if we want to be frank, we are going through the route that is longer, and for the teams who were unable to do the needful. But we have to bear the consequences of our actions, right? And it looks like the boys are jacked up to take responsibility, judging by the last game against Benin Republic when they walloped the table toppers by 4 goals to nil and denied them of a top 2 finish in the group. From first, brought them all the way down to 3rd position. What unfortunate for them and our former coach in Ghana, the German. All right, enough said about the match against Benin. We're looking forward to the match against Gabon coming up in a few days. Like I said, I want us to take a cue from the last game against Benin, right? Where the boys came out roaring from the get-go. Victor Osimhen already put Nigeria ahead as early as the 2nd minute, if I'm not mistaken, or the 4th minute or thereabouts. Before half-time, he had doubled our advantage. Briefly after the 2nd half commenced, hat-trick was completed. And of all people, Frank Oyeka put the icing on the cake to ensure that we find ourselves here. How we move from here to the next stage, which is the final of these African playoffs, and then move further to the intercontinental playoffs is what the journey we want to start right now. The first team right in front of us is Gabon. All right, that's a team that has a legendary player in Africa, I want to say. Talking about Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, a player who deserted Europe to decide that he wants to play for his fatherland, and he has done really well for them, taking them to Nations Cup upon Nations Cup. Their all-time goal scorer. Enough cannot be said about him, right? Prolific striker in his day, but I mean, age has caught up with him. He's currently 36 at the point in time, not as sharp as our own star boy Victor Osimhen.
Sure.
You understand? But let's take a look at the match, right? Do you think this is a match that we can win on a neutral ground, especially in Rabat?
Okay, I think everything favors a Nigerian win. Going by history in this particular game, I think of the 9 times or thereabout that we've played, they've only won once, and I think we've won about 5 and drawn 3. That aside, I think momentum is also on the Nigerian side. One thing that the team showed in that game against Benin is something that is consistent with African football, that a team can make up for the absence of top quality with hearts, the hearts with which they
Spirited performance.
Yes, which was what got us over the line that day. It wasn't like the team played in any particular way that they've not played before within that qualifiers. It was just that there was the heart to do their bits and then hope on hope. That aside, I've also always maintained a strong conviction about the team qualifying for the World Cup, even while we were still 4th on the table. And we could easily have nipped it if we had won against South Africa. That was where we actually lost it. So yeah, it favors Nigeria to the stars aligned for Nigeria to win.
All right. I mean, I can feel the patriotism, as you've been speaking. Like you said, the game against South Africa was a difficult one and we couldn't win. But that's where I want to also look. I want to take a cue from that. In times past, South Africa wasn't the problem. In recent years, for the past decade, South Africa have become a problem for Nigeria. Gabon didn't used to be a problem for Nigeria. Like you said, they've only won once against Nigeria in 9 meetings, and that was one of the reasons why Nigeria couldn't qualify for Italia 90. What if they now become the new South Africa and start become that boogie team that always gives us that issues?
Okay, so for starters, we need to give credit where credit is due. Yeah, the supposed improvements in the fortunes of the South African team when they faced Nigeria is not by accident. As a country, they've invested so much in football, from the grassroots to the local league, and I think one of the biggest bragging rights for the South African team was that the 11 players that partook of that final game that qualified them were all based in South Africa. So that's heavy. That's heavy in African football. So it's not something that have just come from thin air. They've invested in football, so there's no surprises there. But then Gabon, they do not represent a team that will play so often. So I do not see that dimension of a boogie team in the conversation. But then I get what the crux of the question is. It's expected, even from what I had said earlier, that we would win. What then happens if we get? So I'm not going to even focus on the Gabon team. The concentration for me will be on the Nigerian team. So the question is, what Nigerian team would turn up for that game? That's basically what it is about. If we get the same team with the heart to play for the flag, we'll beat Gabon easily. So it's still about the team that turns out. Again, we are pursuing the same goals. That's to say, the Nigerian team and the Gabonese team, it's the same thing we're going after. Yeah. So they will definitely give it their all. But it still comes down to the Nigerian team that turns up, really. If we get anything close to the team that turned up against them, Benin, we would win Gabon easily. This is not being what's the word now?
Patriotic.
It's not patriotism speaking, or arrogance. If the team turns up to play for the flag, most times when we play, you find players like Osimhen and what's his name now, Lukman, embodying this idea of playing for the flag. If you get that from the majority of the team against Gabon, we would win easily, really.
All right, so safe to say we're going to be at the World Cup, or we just win one game, lose the next, and we'll go back home.
Okay, if you look at the passage to the World Cup right now for Nigeria, there's cause to be
worried.
No.
So to be confident.
Yeah. Because if I recall, I'm trying to remember now, but I'm struggling with that. But the themes that I've seen that were most likely to meet. From Oceania and the other, I really not think that would bother us. Again, it would come back to how committed these guys are. But we're not expecting to play the Chiles and the Ecuadors of this world. So
because they've successfully done what we ought to have done.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so all things being equal, we're going to be in US, Canada, and Mexico.
Yeah, that's my heart says yes.
Okay. What does your head say?
I think my head says yes, but not as loudly as my heart says.
Okay. All right. So are you going to be in US, Canada, or Mexico?
I don't think so.
Okay. So you'll be cheering from home?
Yeah, sure.
Or, I mean, if Nigeria doesn't qualify, there's no need there.
Well, it's the World Cup. Regardless of whether or not to qualify, the World Cup is the World Cup now. You have to follow.
All right. Honestly, we hope that the Super Eagles can go. You've been talking about spirited performances and all of that. So I would like to know what you would predict to be your preferred lineup that can churn out that performance that will see us defeat Gabon and progress to the final.
Do I begin to list? I would rather just speak about two players.
Okay.
For no reason must Trustekon start in that game. In any of the games. I think he has paid his dues. He has served the team for as long as possible. The team now has to move on. There's no point squeezing in a player that's way past his prime. And then there are better players right now. So Trust Ekong is one. He can still be the captain, and then he starts from the bench or he sits on the bench. There's been number upon number of players taking that sort of role within the team. That's one. Then from the team that played against Benin, I think the only necessary change would be for Lookman to come in and then what's his name sits on the bench. Outside that, the team is good to go. Yeah, lest I forget, I think the coaches of the national team at this point really need to look back into their choices of their goalkeeping choices.
Okay.
I think if this guy Nwabali continues with this his newfound madness, sorry to say, he would cost the team. Because as a professional player, you are expected to be able to put your emotions in check. We know it's high tension, high pressure game, but that's why they are professionals. He has to put his emotion in check. He goes overboard a lot of times, and it even shows in his goalkeeping. Sometimes he's unexpectedly erratic, and you are wondering where that's coming from, under little or no pressure. I think Nwabali cannot be undisputed number one. It's too risky to have a Super Eagles with Nwabali as our undisputed number one. I'm not saying he's not good enough to start for the team, but he cannot be. It's almost as though, regardless of what he does, performance-wise or disciplinary wise, if I could say that.
Responsibility.
Yeah, he plays the next game. Yeah, so regardless of what he does, he's almost guaranteed to play, and that's risky. Very risky.
Well, I guess it's just fortunate to be a goalkeeper. You know, goalkeepers hardly share the spotlight. All right, but I share your sentiment about him. I mean, I think he's one player who has been fortunate to be in that position. Probably wasn't expecting himself to be in that position, and now it looks like he can't contain his joy. So much anxiety and all of that. But it is what it is. Nigeria has, struggled since Vincent Eyama left the scene unceremoniously, to be said. All right, many thanks for joining us on the show and giving us your views about the Super Eagles. Lastly, I'd just like to know what is your. There are some of our viewers. They are big punters, so they want to rely on you for some correct score. You know. So what's your correct score prediction
for
Nigeria Gabon?
2-1 Nigeria.
2-1,
yes.
All right, you heard it. Take responsibly, as you always say, you know. But you never can tell. You might want to thank him later. All right, many thanks for viewing this particular episode and the future ones. Right, my name is Daniel Uzige. Feel free to call me to Sports Encyclopedia. Some others call me to Sports Aficionado. Matchday Mike 101 is the place to be on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, as well as X. See you next time.